What's up, everyone? Welcome back to It Is Christian. Welcome back to the channel. Today, what we have for you guys is we have another recap of Survivor Season 50, the biggest ever. If you made it through those first 6, which doesn't look like many people did, there was like basically no viewership on it, but it's okay. It was an hour-long recap. So it's one of those things that hopefully once I start being more consistent again, people go back and they watch my thoughts on it. But anyway, if you're new here, that's cool. That's totally fine. You skipped the last one. I get it. It's long. But hopefully you sit through episode 7. We're going to recap. I'm calling it episode 7, Dee-Saster. And you'll see why. If you already saw the episode, you can probably guess why I'm saying that. We leave off, or we come back from a big episode 6 where we had a historic 3 eliminations in one episode, 3 different tribal councils in the same episode, so that was a big deal. Non-finale episodes, mind you. So let's see here. We are at the merge. So the people that are remaining at this point, you got Jonathan, Big Fruit, boom. You got Dee, you know, the charmer, the competition beast, strategic mastermind of 45. We know her. Sari, fan favorite, lover, jumped off the couch, one of the Survivor goats, Mount Rushmore, all that stuff. Rizzo, new kid on the block, came in last season. Nobody here knows who he is. He's kind of funny, you know. He's got some charm to himself, and he's not a dumb guy. He's a fan. He's a student of the game. We got Tiffany, another person that just seems really cool. You know, Tiffany's cool. She's got cool piercings and stuff. I think she does design herself. She's in art. She's a pretty level-headed individual who is obviously very strong, but manages to keep her threat level low. And we still got Joe there. We got Coach there. We got Chrissy. We got Aubrey. We got Christian. We got Emily, Ozzy, and Stephanie. I skipped the introductions for the rest of them. I just didn't want to take too much time. But you know who's here, right? So we got a couple different vote outs to go over that we're seeing the aftermath of. We start out with the aftermath of the Camilla vote out, which was that group that had Jonathan, Tiffany, Chrissy, and Stephanie in it. It looked like it was going one way. It looked like Chrissy had even accepted her defeat because obviously Stephanie couldn't have gone home. She had the immunity for that group. And it seemed Jonathan was going to continue to work with Tiffany and Camilla's allies, but he had felt previously betrayed by them and blindsided when Charlie went home. So he decided to flip the switch himself and side up with Chrissy and Stephanie. So Tiffany is unhappy, but she is as poised as she can be in that moment. She lets them know, hey, I'm upset. I'm not upset with you guys, but I am upset. And I need just a moment to myself to process all this. And they respect it. They leave her alone. And I feel like that was a very good way to be like, hey, I don't want to talk to you guys right now, but without creating too much of enemies right out of the gate after an elimination. She played it very well, in my opinion. But yeah, then we move on to the group that had Aubrey, Christian, Devins, Genevieve, and company. Can't forget who the last person was in that group. Joe, I think. Yeah, that's who it was. Where Genevieve went out. And a big point of contention in this camp is that Aubrey had agreed upon playing her idol so they could flesh it out, because they thought Genevieve had one too. She said she was going to play her idol going into that, and after the fact they're like, hey, you said you were going to play your idol, but you didn't play your idol, and what's going on. And then so Aubrey's excuse comes out as, oh yeah, I forgot. We're not buying it, bud. This is what, the third time you've played the game? Third or fourth? Is it the fourth time Aubrey's played the game? She played Calron. I know she played in Edge of Extinction. Now she's playing this game. I want to say she also played in Game Changers. Is that right? Aubrey. Yeah, she was in Game Changers as well. So Aubrey, if I'm not mistaken, is a four-time player. Yeah, this is her fourth time. So yeah. Even if it was a third time, you can't be passing off the old, I forgot to play my Ella. You ain't a newbie, and you're not playing with newbies, so you gotta act like it, bud. So yeah, Aubrey, you're not getting off on that one. I see you trying. All right, let's see what we have here. So. When we get to the big merge, now everybody's on camp together. Kobe also went home, we know about that, and then everybody sees it. But he was injured, and it was just a matter of time. Get to the big tribe. Tiffany and Dee are chatting it up, and they're talking about Jonathan lying. Because Jonathan said everything was cool, even after the Charlie Blindside. He said, I want to work with you guys. You know, I know what happened, but I still want to work with you guys. And here's the thing I'll give Jonathan, right? I think he may be telling the truth that in the moment when they were still on the tribe together, he was going to still work with them because he wanted to stay in favor, you know, just work with the girls and be cool. But once an opportunity presented itself where, hey, he could swing the other way and not go with people that just lied to him, I think that's ultimately what had him make the decision he did. And then you have Dee walk over to Coach on the hammock, and Coach just kind of confronts her. He's like, I've been hearing that you telling people that you don't trust me. And he starts laughing like, who told you that? Like, you know, but she doesn't trust him, but she wants to know who told him that and everything. And she's kind of like playing it off, whatever. But then Jonathan's like, you sure? You want me to tell him everything that I know? And at that point is when Dee really realizes that Jonathan has fully transitioned over to the other side and is kind of throwing Dee under the bus there. So yeah, Dee is early on in this episode being seen as maybe a consensus target of the entire group, just right out of the way. They're showing that. Coach does his little confessional stuff, all this stuff, and he's already, now that he's on this merged tribe and he feels like he has Jonathan on his side and all that, he's friends with Joe and feels like he's working with everyone. He's quickly again letting the power go to his head. The coach that we've seen many times before, he's doing it again. Surprise, surprise. Nobody's surprised. Nobody's surprised, Coach. So, Coach makes a big statement of how you're not going to win this season without being loyal and telling the truth. You're going to do it his way. America's way. He's trying to make Survivor great again. Yeah. Ozzy and Rizzo finally returned from exile and joined the rest of the merged cast. And to their biggest surprise, 3 people have been eliminated from the previous night. And then that's when they're actually really counting their lucky stars. They're like, you know, we knew that there's probably going to be a double or something, but a triple, wow, this is nuts. We were really so grateful to have that advantage to go to exile. Now, Coach is trying to pull in Rizzo to be the 4th horseman in the 4 horsemen because they've lost Kobe. Rizzo agrees to it, but he's like, hey man, in the confession, he's like, I know you're just picking me because you're replacing the other guy that was supposed to be here, so I'll let you think I'm with you, but this thing ain't running strong. We know where Rizzo lies. He lies with Sari and Ozzy. That's the trio right now, for sure. And speaking of which, they reconnect. Ozzy and Sari, they talk about their final three. How they pretty much all know each other's advantages, and it seems like this three right here, I think Rizzo names them, or it was either Rizzo or Sari that named them. It's called Sari's Wizard of Oz. Yeah, not so sure about the name, but I like the group. I like the three of them. So, but then out of the blue, out of the three of them, Emily comes up and asks Rizzo who gave him his idol. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know that it was, I think that one was one that Genevieve gave as a boomerang idol. So, you know, there's that. But this is why I call this, you'll see the title of this video, and it's called Episode 7, A Dee-Saster. This is just the first of many dominoes, actually alongside with that first Jonathan throwing her under the bus that just ultimately spelled a rough ending for Dee. So him getting asked that question by Emily, you know, how'd you get your idol? Who gave it to you? Makes him ask her, how do you know? Because I never told you about the idol. And so she reveals that it was Dee that told him, and that was true. Dee told him. Dee told Jonathan. Dee told Camilla as well, because she was trying to branch out her own, you know, big family of connections in the game. But now that we're with high-level players, unlike season 45, which I feel like was a pretty submissive cast that she kind of ran through, it was, you know, you realize that it's going to be a bit harder this time around. And so with that information coming to the light, Rizzo is wary of Dee. You know, can Dee still be trusted? Because we know they formed that bond while they were on the new Sela, I think they were, when they were on their last drive together. They formed a bit of a bond where Dee was working with Rizzo, and that's what helped to get Charlie out instead of Rizzo. But with this new information coming around, he doesn't know if he wants to keep being on that sinking ship. So we get a journey have to happen, and Stephanie goes on the journey, has to hold her arm overhead until a pot fills and busts. She does it, and she gets to steal a vote. She comes back and tells everybody that she had to do it to keep her vote, or if she didn't, she just lost her vote, and that there was no advantage. Of course, nobody really believes that. Again, you're playing with 4-time, 3-time, 5-time players of Survivor. In this game, 2-time at least. So nobody's believing that, so we kind of pulls her to the side. He's like, yeah, right. Okay. And then so Stephanie comes clean ultimately to Sari. Seems like those two have a loose bit of a connection. They may work together again in the future. Yes, and then to go back to the previous point of Rizzo questioning about how Emily found out about his idol, Sari and Rizzo are starting to talk about the possibility of severing ties with Dee, because her name's been coming up a lot. It's been coming up with Jonathan and Coach, and everybody's kind of like, you know, she is a winner. You know, there's that going against her. So it's all just piling up. We get a reward challenge, which is also a challenge to determine who's going to get a chance to compete for immunity and individual immunity. The two groups, the winning group gets reward and the shot at winning individual immunity. Losing group gets nothing. Blue team is Emily, Christian, Ozzy, Joe, Stephanie, Devins, Dee. Purple team, Sari, Chrissy, Aubrey, Rizzo, Jonathan, Coach, and Tiffany. Now, just because you win reward, though, if you're in that winning group and have a shot at immunity, if you don't ultimately win the individual immunity, you still have a chance to go home. It's not like they're splitting it up. into two groups. So the blue team wins that, and so they're getting rewards. So again, that's Emily, Christian, Ozzy, Joe, Stephanie, Devins, and Dee. Those are people that are going to have a chance to win immunity here. And it's one of those ones where they're on like a narrow plank where they have to move sections every, like 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and they're holding like a board overhead with a circular surface that's holding a ball. They're balancing at the end. They have to keep moving it down while holding strong and making sure the ball doesn't drop on this narrow little ledge. So immunity starts, Devins drops quickly, then Emily drops, and then they make it to the next section of everything. Then Christian drops, and then Stephanie, who had hurt her shoulder earlier from that bucket thing, she ends up dropping because she can't take the pain anymore. Then Dee, who everything is really relying on this immunity for, because she seems to be public enemy number one, she ends up dropping out at third. So you get the last two, which are Joe and Ozzy. Ultimately, Joe drops, making Ozzy the winner of the first true, well, no, because I guess it was technically individual immunity last week on the Blood Moon, but at the official merge point, Ozzy is the individual immunity winner, which is fitting in an all-star type of cast. On season 50, you get one of the original competition beasts, one of the original guys who you were worried of always winning individual immunity, winning it. So even at, I think he's in his 40s now, even at this age, Ozzy is just still Ozzy ultimately. We get talk of who's gonna actually be going home. Dee and Aubrey's name get floated out a bit, but then it comes down to they just want Dee help, and so they know Dee works closely with Tiffany, so they're worried about an idol. They're talking about splitting the votes. Coach wants 7 on Dee and 4 on Tiffany. But there's a big emphasis on don't tell the middle people about it. Don't tell the middle people about Tiffany or whatever. Just tell everybody that we're doing Dee. And then somehow he slips that information to Devins, who then rallies it over to Christian, because Christian is one of the people Coach keeps naming as the most middle. He's the biggest threat next to Dee. And so he tips off Christian about it. And they're talking about, maybe we should just get Coach out instead. Yeah. And this somehow gets back to Rizzo, because Coach is talking about it, how he told Devins about not telling Christian, and then Christian somehow found out about that 7-4 thing, and that also that he was one of the middle people. And then Rizzo tells the Coach, Devins is one of the middle people. They're all middle people. You don't move your mouth like this. And so it's starting. There's actually momentum building towards maybe Coach going out instead, which it always seems like is a possibility, especially when it seems one way early on that it's so obvious one person's going home. Then you get that flip at the middle part of, Travel Deliberation parts of the show, where there's something that can turn out to either be a false hope or the pivot direction that it ends up going. And so we'll see which one this is. More and more people do want to vote Coach out because it's hard to work with him. Well, I think ultimately what wins out is that Coach isn't really seen as a threat. He's just seen as a number. Nobody actually listens to the words of Coach. He's just kind of spewing nonsense to himself. Dee has a plan to go into tribal and start whispering. She executes on it. She does the little whisper. It causes drama. Their plan was to flip it back so that it was going to be Coach voted out. It would have been Dee, Tiffany, Christian, Aubrey, and Devins and such that were voting out Coach. But it seems as though Dee got the tip that things were not going that way, because she ultimately plays her shot in the dark and is not safe. So only 1 vote goes to Coach. The 4 go to Tiffany. The 7 go to Dee. And Dee ends up going home. Yeah, it's unfortunate, because I actually, funny enough, on her original season, I think I said it in the first video I did for season 50, I wasn't the biggest fan of Dee, but Dee in the underdog role was very entertaining to me, and I liked Tiffany, I liked Camilla, and things just really didn't go that side of things way these past few episodes, through the Blood Moon twist, up to just Dee's own doings onto herself, and so that's why I call it a Dee-Saster. It was ultimately Dee's decisions. It was her being so trusting in Emily, whose lips are just the loosest. You can't tell Emily anything. We learned that earlier in the season with Christian, when they were trying to do the vote out on Mike White, you know, and do a vote out on Angelina, after, like, you can't trust Emily, first of all. And then telling Jonathan and then flipping on Jonathan. It was a lot of sloppy gameplay from somebody who was a winner, and I think it may have been a result of facing much stiffer competition, but also the target that she had on her back going into it being a winner already. So flaws in Dee's mistake. Everybody has flaws. Nobody that's played Survivor has won 100% of the times that they played. Even the 2-time winners like Tony and Sandra and Parvati. They've all had their shortcomings here and there. Now, this would be a lesson for Dee if she ends up coming back to play. But ultimately just not a good episode for her, and it showed how this game wasn't her strongest performance. But anyway, at this point, you know, I'm seeing the way that things are positioned. I'm really rocking with that trio of Rizzo, Suri, and Ozzy. That might be my favorite trio, although I do still really like Christian and Devins, of course. I hope a swing can be taken at this little Jonathan, Coach, and Stephanie and Chrissy group that's forming right now. I'd really like to see Coach go home next. It may not be the best gameplay move, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Coach. He's so self-righteous. He's so, like, narcissistic, thinks the world of himself, and it gets hard to watch, man. He just thinks he's God's gift to everybody. Anyway, let me know what you guys' thought was on episode 7 of Survivor. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below your thoughts on it. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more. I'm going to have some more Survivor content coming out for you guys. Probably watching some funny Survivor things. Or I might do another one of my tier lists coming up soon. About who has the best chance to win, who has the least amount of chance to win. See you guys in the next video, and have a great day. Bye-bye.